Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the TF podcast. I'm excited for my guest today. You might know him from Genius and Everpedia, Mahbod. Please welcome him, and I'd love if you could introduce yourself.
Yo, what's cracking? I started Genius, which is basically the best app on the internet. It's where you go for
I think
artist
so.
lyrics. And that was kind of the inspiration for Everpedia. We were kind of like, if Genius is basically a better version of Wikipedia in some ways, so why don't we just straight up try to make a better version of Wikipedia?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I love Genius so much, actually. I was telling myself, I was like, I'm gonna tell him that I invented Genius when I was in high school, but I just never did it. I'm just kidding. I bet no, I'm just teasing. I bet you
When we
probably had a
first
ton of people.
founded it, we would get so many of those. We get so
I
many,
know.
like, hey, I've been thinking of this for years.
I know. That's why I said that. I bet a ton of people have told you that. No, it's funny. Like I love hip hop. I love rap music, and I've always been obsessed with understanding like what the lyrics are, and not just understanding lyrics, but I want to feel like what they're talking about, right? If you remember being in English class in high school, you'd have these teachers tell you like, what do you think the poet meant when they said this? And like you'd have to figure out their interpretation, and the teacher was always right. And so I don't know, I never liked that in high school, but then taking that to hip hop, I've always liked it. I'm like, man, what do you think he means when he's saying this or whatever? So
Yeah,
uh
I mean, the inspiration was Bible analysis. That's why the original title of the site was Rap Exegesis.
oh wow.
We had to change it because no one knows what exegesis means and they don't know how to spell it. But that means like analysis of the Bible.
Oh, got it. Very interesting. Yeah, it's funny because I every once in a while, when a new song comes out that I really like, I'll watch the video in either closed captions, or I'll have the video going and I have Genius on, and I'm just like watching the same time and just trying to like figure out the lyrics. My friends will be like,
Yeah.
yeah, my friends are like, why are you doing that? I'm like, I want to know what they're saying. So it's very cool.
Hopefully Apple, we're doing partnerships with Apple. So I would like to see a full integration. Right now, the integration we have with music that's the most successful is the Spotify behind the lyrics. It doesn't show you all the lyrics, but it's kind of like pop-up video. It shows you like the best parts of Genius while you're listening to the song.
Yeah. And how is Genius, how is that created? Is that crowdsourced like Everpedia,
Yeah,
Wikipedia? That's how what like people would
that's
put
the
their
whole
lyrics in?
plan. And when we started Genius, we were already thinking about improving Wikipedia. We already were worried that Wikipedia is too limited. We were like, Wikipedia has 10,000 editors. We want to have a million editors.
Uh-huh. It, yeah, I'd love to understand um just like the mechanics of that, right? So how does that even works? How are you aware or verify that the person that is approving or, putting out that information is doing it correctly? Take us through that kind of system mechanic wise.
We're pretty chill. Like, it's the wiki terminology is deletionist versus inclusionist. So Wikipedia is deletionist. That's like the complaint a lot of people have. Like they deleted my page, even though it was legit. So right off the bat, we decided that Genius is not going to be deletionist. It's going to be inclusionist. So for example, every amateur rapper can go and break down their lyrics and annotate it, and we don't even care. We
Hmm.
only care if it's something that's hot. Like if you go on the new Drake song and you want to put something, you need to have a citation. That's where we start to get strict.
Got it. Got
But
it.
if you're just going to put up your own song or whatever, it's totally chill. No one's going to delete it and say that it's not important enough.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem with Wikipedia. Like Wikipedia deletes my page, they decide I'm not important enough to have one, and like it's because of my skin color. Like it's been proven that for people of color and for women, it's much stricter threshold to get a Wikipedia page.
Wow.
That's really messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. So when you're thinking through with Genius, and I love how you're saying that Genius was kind of like the starting point, I guess, for Everpedia overall. Is, what's the incentive for people to put these lyrics on? Do they get incentivized in any sort of way, or is it like a credit or
That
awareness?
is the question. That is the question. And that's the reason why I became so passionate about crypto, is because I was someone who acutely felt the need for internet money.
Yeah.
I felt weird when we started Genius. The rule was you can't pay contributors. There was a famous story about Kanye West was at Twitter's launch party, and he said that he doesn't want to tweet until they pay him.
Hmm.
And they basically strong-armed him. All these tech people strong-armed him. They're like, you got to tweet, motherfucker. So they basically forced him to tweet. They're like, we're not paying you. I always thought that was weird. When Genius started to grow, I got into big trouble because I started something called Cash Genius. Because Genius would give IQ points, but the IQ points weren't worth anything. It was just to keep score. It was kind of like how Stack Overflow has karma.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give some of the top IQ earners like $100 check. And then people got mad at me. Some of the users got mad at me. They're like, who gives him the power to do it? So I started to understand, like, it's not enough for me to do it. There has to be a system.
Right.
So when we started to get into dApps, tokenization, the first time I heard about Steemit, I was like, this is a game changer.
Yeah.
The dream was for Genius to tokenize, which kind of, so Everpedia, when we started, we didn't want to do crypto stuff. We just wanted to be the inclusionist Wikipedia. But we decided to name our points IQ. Originally, they were just points to keep score, kind of like Genius, but we named them after Genius's points.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is once we got $30 million to tokenize the site, now we have IQ tokens. Like each IQ token, it's really cheap right now. It's like 1/100th of a penny.
Mm-hmm.
But the tokens are worth money. So like that would be my dream, is someday if Genius could also have tokens that are worth money. What would be even cooler is if everyone has the same token. Everyone has IQ tokens. So like,
Yeah.
you upload stuff on YouTube, you get IQ tokens. You write a Wikipedia article, you get IQ tokens. You annotate on Genius, you get IQ tokens. Post something on Reddit. Kind of like
Yeah.
what Steemit wanted to do with Steam, but it didn't take off.
Right. No, I find that fascinating, especially as someone who produces content, right? Is like, how do you reward the people who are most loyal to you and your content threads, and who are like participating in the ecosystem that you're creating? I think there's definitely something there, and will continue to evolve. It's all about the exchange of value, right? The exchange of value between participants. So if I am producing more value in the network, I should get more, IQ points, IQ tokens, or, whatever system that be. I love to kind of break down then, when you're thinking, when you started evolving and creating Everpedia. I guess first, before that, is the same team from Genius on Everpedia as well? Is that the same team, or you're just the only congruent
Not
piece
at
there?
all. The Everpedia the Genius guys were never into crypto. I became passionate about Genius in my last year at the company, and my co-founders were never into it. They refused to invest. So then the Everpedia guys went to UCLA, and I was giving a talk at UCLA. Sam, the CEO or the president, was a senior. So he showed me my Everpedia page. I was like, this is amazing. I remembered my Wikipedia page getting deleted.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is going to be huge. We got our first money from Mucker Capital. Shouts out to Mucker, best VC.
They're in LA, right?
Yeah, at Santa Monica. And Sam was chilling. He graduated. He basically graduated college, and the next day signed up for his AWS credits to launch his app.
That's cool. That's cool. So, breaking down more the tokenization, or that, that whole reward system, there, you said like, hey, it'd be great if there's just like one token or one reward system across like YouTube and across all these sort of things. And let's kind of break down for everybody how content works right now, right? So like, a lot of it is done basically for just, call it social credit, right? Like, you get like this perceived social value, and maybe the top YouTubers get paid because of page views, and they get sponsorships, but really it's a lot of people are doing things independently, right? Like they might work a deal on the side with an advertiser, or they might, have someone sponsor something. It seems like when we're thinking about how tokens work from a content perspective, is like you could really reward people, based off of that. What are your thoughts overall on how that kind of operates, and does that fit into Everpedia?
So YouTube is basically the only micropayment site that works. Other places it hasn't really worked. But even that, so that the benefit for tokenizing that is you're not only giving money, but the tokens can have governance. It's kind of more like owning equity. So like YouTube right now is giving dollars. That's still not okay for me. They should basically be giving Google stock. And then you follow the fortunes. It rises and falls with the success of the platform.
That's interesting.
And that's what Steemit wanted to do. Sometimes I wish Steemit could have just been scalable and succeeded. They had another dApp that was also on the Steem token called D2. So that was the first thing they wanted to go after. Steemit was basically Reddit, and the next one was to go after YouTube.
Got
We
it.
were basically trying to build the Steemit version of Wikipedia. Like I would be down for all of these to just run on the same thing. They called their token Steem. I'm calling mine IQ. I think that's a better name. But it's the same idea. We like basically everything about the IQ token is cribbed from Steem. The governance, the inflation rate, the way that we produce the rewards.
Yeah. And so let's break down a little bit how that works within Everpedia. So I create an Everpedia page for Mahbod if it wasn't there, and I start adding content to there, like why you're interesting, XYZ. And then how do I start getting rewarded for that information? Is it a voting system?
There's
Or
30-minute. I mean, the rules always change. So sorry if I'm wrong, but I
no
think right
worries.
now 30-minute period. So right when your edit comes on the chain, and we've got the moderators. So if the moderators see that something's legit, they're going to start upvoting, and then they have a lot of IQ. So that means that their upvotes are going to get you more IQ.
Got it.
And then it just goes out there. We're trying to build a bigger community, get more of these votes so that we have more robust checking. But at the same time, we try to be pretty inclusionist. Like if someone makes a page that it shows that they're trying, but they still don't 100% get it. In my experience, we don't delete it. We'll usually accept it, and then we'll contact them and give them tips on how to make it better.
Yeah. And Everpedia has an executive from Wikipedia, right? Is that correct?
He was there, yeah. Larry, he got very passionate about crypto because of all of this. He's kind of in the same boat that I am. But like we started, Wikipedia was even before. So Wikipedia was the inspiration for Genius. Like Genius was the inspiration for Everpedia.
Yeah.
And when Wikipedia started, they still didn't know what the internet was going to be like. So they decided, instead of making it into a corporation and raising money, to make it a nonprofit. I kind of think that's what they thought. They thought Google and Facebook and all these things are going to be nonprofits. So obviously that was very wrong. And in some ways that was very, very dangerous, because Wikipedia doesn't have the right incentives. It has these volunteers who basically, they don't get paid in money, but they get paid by being allowed to be racist and sexist. They can delete pages from women, about women, about people of color. So that's messed up. Yeah. And there's no accountability. There's no rubric. It's kind of like they do whatever they want. It's willy-nilly. There's no hierarchy. It's a bunch of guys. A lot of them live in the Bay Area. A lot of them are technical. It's all men.
And so, when you think about from this incentive model, so I'm assuming you've probably done a lot of thought on this as well, as like, how do you take either the IQ token or Everpedia, and maybe not even necessarily that, but the behaviors and the mechanics of that into some of these platforms that people use on the daily, right? So like, like Facebook. So, I think Facebook is really interesting in
the mother of all of them.
Right. And so, I've said this multiple times when it comes to Libra, I think that they just they really had a PR mishap in the way that they presented it to people, right? Like, I really feel if they would have just said like, hey, we love our users and we want to incentivize them with like these Libra tokens to earn, credits or points
Yeah.
for like interacting. I really think that we would have Libra probably in place, as soon as it's ready. But when you start saying like, oh, we have this Libra thing and like people can use this instead of like regular money in like these other places, other countries or whatever, I think that's where it got kind of scary for banking institutions. So love what your thoughts are on all that.
The Libra being a stable coin, not being a utility token, it was totally wrong. I think what happened is Zuck wanted to do what we're talking about. First of all, it shouldn't be called Libre. It should be called Facecoin.
Mm-hmm.
And I should have a lot. So like that's the, aside from my genius issues, the reason why I got really into crypto, I've always thought I should get money or equity from Facebook, because I was one of the earliest users of Facebook, and I was a power user. I was one of the earliest people on Facebook to kind of have a following.
Got it.
Where's my Facecoin? Zuck. But Zuck sees the passion. Zuck, it seems to me, is the one guy in Silicon Valley who understands the crypto revolution. I think his board messed with him. His board said, like, we can't do a utility token. If you want, we can start by copying WeChat. Libra was basically trying to copy WeChat and just have digital money inside of the Facebook ecosystem so you can make purchases,
Mm-hmm.
or to send debts back and forth like Venmo.
Yeah.
But that's not the game changer. Like, what needs to happen is what the vision we both see of decentralized Facebook. It could be Facebook itself. There's these competitors, like our investor launched voice.com. We're basically trying to rebuild a crypto Facebook, but I'm hoping Facebook can be the crypto Facebook. Obviously, I have a lot of respect for Zuck. Zuck is the reason why I decided to get into tech. I think he's the best CEO of all time. He copied Snapchat. He fucking crushed it. There's never been a imitation that's that successful in all of capitalism. So now, if he
With the
can do it,
stories and all
he's
that.
got this huge game-changing technology. Usually when there's a technology like this, the incumbent gets wiped out. A newcomer comes, the incumbent gets wiped out. So this is Zuck's ultimate test, is will the incumbent be able to adapt to crypto? And I think he'll do it. I think Libra is dead, but I think eventually there will be Facebook coin. It'll be a utility token, and hopefully it'll all be integrated. You can, maybe it could be IQ. That is Zuck. Hi, Everpedia. Make your utility. You can copy all of our architecture that we've been working for the past 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's crazy. It's interesting to think about like the tokenized economy and like what that means for existing businesses, or the I guess the incumbent world of commerce and media and so forth. You think of companies like Amazon, or really anything that has like these ecosystem elements to it, right? And like some level of tokenization to me has always made sense in there, whether it's centralized or decentralized, or just even a more sophisticated loyalty point, but some sort of representation of being able to earn. It just so happens that I think that a level of crypto would probably be the best way to do it, right? From a tracking or auditability kind of standpoint, but
with crypto, you don't only give money, you can also give control. So it's more like equity than like dollars. That's what I like about utility tokens.
Yeah.
I signed up for Patreon yet. Like, there's some stuff on the internet that you're like, how is this not crypto integrated? Like, how have we been doing this without crypto? I signed up for Patreon yesterday. And right when you sign up, it tells you, do you want your money in dollars, euros, or yen? And I'm like, where's Bitcoin? Are you kidding me? Integrate Bitcoin. How hard is that?
Yeah.
My friend is actually building a crypto Patreon. Another one that I've never used, but like, it's like, how is this not on crypto, is Swag Bucks. Taking surveys, online surveys, and getting a reward. Swag Bucks, the reward they use is Amazon gift cards. You basically
Hmm.
take an hour survey and they give you a $5 Amazon gift card.
Oh,
That's just
interesting.
absurd. But that I think that's been around since like the early 2000s or something.
Yeah, yeah. I've definitely heard of a couple different things, like that, where they started.
Insights Net, they're both my friends. Insights Network is doing well. They got traction. And my friend Lyndon, who was a big time Facebook exec, is building Ozone AI, which is like crypto surveys. Again, that's a no brainer. Like tips and rewards for for tasks, for internet tasks. These are no brainers that it needs to be on crypto.
Yeah, totally, totally. Let's move to what's going on in the world. So you're obviously at home. I'm at home.
Manifest.
How have you been treating the quarantine, the stay at home? You're in New York, right?
Yeah. I'm in the epicenter.
Yeah,
I,
gnarly.
I'm very skeptical. I'm scared to say anything because I feel like right now the thought police don't allow you to. But I'm a crypto skeptic. I'm losing a lot of friends over it, but whatever. I think it's absurd. I think that the shutdown is going to end up costing more than the actual virus, the panic.
Hmm. Well, it's crazy.
Also, I think that I think it is politically motivated. I'm anti-Trump, so it's mostly like pro-Trump people who are saying this. I think that like all the like rich weirdo liberals decided that by making this a panic, they could make Trump not get elected. But instead, I
Mhm.
feel like they've handed him the election. I think that there's a rally around the flag effect going on, and he's going to win because of Corona. So, as an I'm anti-Trump just because he dissed crypto. Like he's ugly. He made us. He made the world kind of anti-America. So
So
the
it's
anti-crypto one is the main one that when he dissed crypto, I was like, fuck this guy.
you're putting up an interesting point there. A lot of times when a president is in wartime, right? It makes it easier for them to get reelected, right? Like this thought of a transfer of power, um, you know, becomes a little bit scary for folks or whatever. And there's this analogy or this that what we're going through is very much like a wartime scenario. I don't know. I disagree though. I think Trump could have, like, if I'm to put on like a consulting hat on, and I also am not a supporter of him, unfortunately, or fortunately, or however you want to focus it for anybody listening. But I think he actually had a really interesting opportunity to prove his agenda, but he didn't go about it the right way. And I'll tell you why. Like, if he would have just owned up to like, oh my gosh, this is a big thing from the very beginning, he could have said like, see, that's why I said our borders need to be closed. See, that's why I said that we need to make everything in America. See, like, that's why we can't have China send us all this sort of thing, right? Like, I mean, he could have really like emphasized it to prove his entire rhetoric that he's been doing for his campaign. And I think he totally missed out on that opportunity. And I'm glad he did miss out on that opportunity. But I'm actually kind of surprised by that overall. It's obviously no doubt that it's grown to a size that has been bigger than what the uh, call it, the people in charge thought it would be, of course. And I think that's really unfortunate because we're going to see a lot of death, and we have already because of it. And then, yeah, there's definitely the financial implications of it as well. With kind of your background and what you've seen in New York and just overall, like, let's talk kind of more just like the financing, right? So like the stock markets have been going down, and now they're up. They're like, I actually haven't checked this morning, but they basically are starting that kind of like this slight uptick, and that feels a little unfounded, given the current circumstance.
Printing all this money was crazy. They keep on trying to break the record.
Yeah.
How long is it going to work? I remember when we were studying this in I was a freshman in college. I was taking macroeconomics, and that's right when they were starting to get into these things of like, can we print money to stop economic downturns? The big fear was in the 70s. The 70s saw stagflation. So there was a question of, can we do it without there being stagflation? It's largely a psychological issue. You basically have to print the money, but somehow trick the masses into not knowing that you're printing. And that's what we've basically been doing for the past 11 years. Since 2009, we had an unprecedented money printing, and it worked. We've gotten the biggest boom economy out of it. Now this panic happened. We decided to print even more money. Psychologically, when is the same thing going to happen that happened in the 70s? When are people going to start catching on that we're printing money? Mm-hmm. So it gets scary. And it's interesting because that's the whole reason why Satoshi created Bitcoin, was because of the quantitative easing in 2009.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how it seems like each event that takes place that, someone that might not be involved in Bitcoin or care about it might think, oh, like this will be like what kind of softens the blow for Bitcoin. It actually strengthens it, right? It's like you're like all these things that happen. It's like you're just continuing to prove the case why so many of us care so much about Bitcoin.
Yeah. So the interesting thing was, right when Corona, like when stock market first crashed, Bitcoin crashed. Mm-hmm. And then they found out that the banks had dumped because they wanted to buy more. So they were basically like, hey, let's try to pretend, let's try to make people think that Bitcoin is cyclical. But even with all their dumping, they got the price down to 3,800, and then it shot back up to like 5K, 6K in a couple of days.
Yeah. So and I think
for me, it's a question of perspective. The way I'm looking at it, the fact that in this kind of panic era, Bitcoin is still doing well at all means that eventually it's going to be worth $1 million. This kind of proves that Bitcoin's like gold; it's never going to go to zero.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It's actually been, arguably more stable in these last couple of weeks than what we've seen in the other markets overall.
Especially for a cutting edge technology. Like someday we want this to be a store of value, but right now, let's face it, it's still cutting edge. It's risky, but then there's something about its inherent nature that makes it able to serve this function that we want it to serve. So now it's at 7,300. I think the halving, I've said this before Corona, I don't think that the halving is priced in. So I think that in the summer, there's going to be a huge boost. I think it's going to, the same thing that happened the last two halvings. The halving suddenly, just because like the supply suddenly gets cut short, the price suddenly goes way up. Mm-hmm. But then it goes so high that people start selling, and then it crashes back down. So like the first halving, it went up to 1,000 from $18, crashed back down to 180. Second halving, it went from $300 to 20,000, crashed back down to 3K. This time, I think it's going to go from 7K to 100,000, and then crash back down to like 20K.
Yeah, that'd be interesting to see. And it's I think from those that like don't have Bitcoin, it probably feels more even more volatile. But it's also, when we think about for a lot, unless you're trading crypto, right? Unless you're trading and you're a trader, most people that have Bitcoin, I shouldn't say most, there's a large community of people that have Bitcoin that it's more of just like, hey, this is a long-term investment type of strategy, right? It's like, hey, like if, what I always say is like, I don't care if Bitcoin goes up or down 1,000, because I care about Bitcoin at, 100,000. That's what I care about. So.
And I'm always, someday we're going to find out how many Bitcoins are lost. I think there's a lot. I think that as many as half of all Bitcoins could be lost. Because think about how many people who are like, people like me, like computer weirdos, have thousands of Bitcoin, and they probably have no friends, and they're going to die, and they don't have a will. No one even knows their Bitcoin's not in Coinbase. It's just in a key in their safe.
Yeah.
No one's even going to know about it. So all of these thousands of Bitcoin are going to be lost forever.
Yeah. That'll be really interesting to see how that does take place. And like when you get to validate that, right? It's like, okay, these Bitcoins have not moved for the last 100 years, you know, something like that, right? Or 50 years.
But
Or
Satoshi's own Bitcoin.
yeah,
Satoshi's own Bitcoin. It seems like he's not going to do anything. He's basically going to just leave them forever
yeah,
untouched. And he's got 10%, right?
something like that. Yeah, yeah, this is crazy. Yeah, you know, it's really interesting just how the economy is going to kind of start to force other things. Like there's already some talks about mortgages are going to start taking a hit. You know, I was reading this morning that you know, people asking to delay their mortgage payments has gone up by like 2,000% or something like that. Yeah, it'll be
Real
wild.
estate's going to crash. So I've been saying I hate real estate. That's one reason why I'm really big into the internet. I'm Iranian from Los Angeles, but my family's poor. And then Iranians in Los Angeles are known as for being very wealthy, in fact, but we're kind of like nouveau riche. We're considered rich, but like not classy. And it's because all of us are real estate. Like all the rich Iranians own real estate. They build, you know, strip malls, homes. So I was always jealous that my family doesn't have money. And I also always thought real estate was stupid. I thought you were just kind of buying land and not doing anything with it. That's why I got very passionate about the internet. So I was kind of like, you know, we're creating a space that's not part of real estate. And then that's even more why the reason I'm passionate about crypto is because this is digital real estate. Like we're really creating like the things that on the internet that already have value.
Yeah.
We're actually going to assign the value to them. Like
Yeah.
already it was like this before crypto. Like for years now, if you have 10 million followers on Instagram, you'd probably rather have $10 million or 10 million followers on Instagram than have like a $2 million physical real estate property. You know what I mean? So already
Monetize it more.
computers are starting to take the place of land. I remember like when Amazon.com or not even Amazon.com, when AOL first became big in the 90s, I remember my older brother and like all the old internet skeptic people would be like, but they don't have any assets. You're saying this company's worth billions. They don't have any assets. So they still hadn't thought of the notion of having digital assets. So that's the reason why I'm passionate about all this. And then now I think Corona is going to speed it, but I've been saying that I think real estate is going to crash for the next 100 years. I think the real estate is going to crash more than it ever has before in human history. Because for all of human history, land is scarce, land goes up. But now for the first time, we're rethinking the scarcity of land because we have computers. So you can move work onto computers. You can, well, you know, office space. I think eventually the price of office space is going to get slashed, and then that's going to have ripple effects on residential spaces too. WeWork crashing. Like who knows what's going to happen with WeWork? I think WeWork is going to end up foreclosing all of their properties. They have like these prime properties, best real estate in every major city in the world. All of those are going to get sold at fire sale prices. What's that going to do to comps? You know, that's going to, I think it can create a giant real estate meltdown. Then it takes, you know, real estate takes a long time. It takes a long time for people to buy and sell. So the WeWork after effects, internet after effects, coronavirus after effects, I think we're going to see real estate crash for the next 100 years.
Interesting. That's an interesting point. You know, it will, we definitely have seen, you know, when it comes to like kids in school and people working from home, it's like, hey, like, yeah, this is different, but you know, people can do it. Right. So I definitely can see there being an issue there.
The Corona revolution. People are starting to come to my world because of coronavirus.
Yeah, I live in Washington State, and the governor just said that, you know, kids can't go back to school, or they're not going to be going back to school this school year, right? And you know, some of the analysis and the things are saying like, well, you know, be prepared to like do how or learn about this distance learning stuff because maybe even next year. And so I think you're right in the sense that if people start to learn more how to operate from home, like, yeah, it's just simple supply and demand. You know, I don't know about 100-year crash, but definitely there being some level of effect, 100%. There's no doubt that would be an issue.
Plus, we're depopulating. I think my other prediction is I think the human population is going to get cut in half within my lifetime.
Hmm. I'd love to hear about that.
No,
I definitely I've heard that theory before, but I love your thoughts.
I look at it anecdotally. I know so many people my age who it seems like never going to have kids.
Yeah, I think you're. Yeah, people are having kids later in life, overall. But but the population is growing. I mean, it would take probably some more cataclysmic type of pandemics, disease, or whatever. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, so that's kind of I'm overall I think Corona. I'm frustrated because my gym is closed. Like open the freaking gym. But overall, it's good for me. I think it's going to be great for crypto and it's great for the internet, which is, you know, I've been a nerd. I've been a nerd for the past 20 years. Now everyone else is going to become a nerd too.
Mm-hmm.
Dating apps are going like there's so many people you see on dating apps who are like, hey, I've never used one of these things before, but now I have no choice.
Yeah.
And I like them. Part of the reason, so I hate real estate, but that's kind of just scratching the surface. I kind of hate the physical world. Like, you know, I'm not like some tall athlete guy. I'm an intellectual.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like to meet people at parties. I like to meet them on the internet because then the main thing that they can see is what I'm good at. I'm good at writing. I'm good at making music, art.
That's a super interesting thought there. It's, you know, basically what you're saying is that um, what you present to the world, like when you're in person, you feel like is different than what you present to the world when you're online. And like when you're online, you're able to showcase the things that you feel best suit you, right?
It's godliness versus animals. It's like it says in the Bible. Basically, we're animals. Like in the real world, we're animals. All we want to do, all we care about is who's the biggest, who has the biggest land, you know, stupid things like that. But then the internet is the world of intellectuals. Like there's a lot of backlash. Like there's people who are like, the internet's ruining my life, da da da. But that's just because they're dumb. Like if you care about music, my passion is music. The internet is a much, much better forum for creating, listening, sharing music than the real world. So that's kind of what got me into it. Like, you know, my first site is basically a music analysis site.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So do you think, you know, we start adapting and becoming more online? Like, are we going to move into the matrix?
Exactly, but I'm down. I'm down because I thrive in the matrix. In the real world, I have like brain tumors and stuff, but in the matrix, I'm great. The main thing for me is music. Like my greatest passion is music. So whenever I'm having an argument with someone who's like an internet dystopian, they're like, "Oh, internet's making all the teenagers depressed. They're committing suicide." My response is always, "What about music? Like for music, the internet is a godsend. There's more musicians who are making money right now than there ever have been in history. And it's because of the internet. It's like, you know, anyone can go on SoundCloud or on Genius. You know, anyone can put their lyrics up on Genius. Shouts out to Genius. I wish I owned SoundCloud. Like I don't own SoundCloud, but they're the other one. I think SoundCloud and Genius are like the two musical the musical backbone of the internet.
Yeah, super interesting. Well, hey, I'd love to, you know, give you the floor if there's anything you want to say before we leave, and or any question that you want to ask, and kind of present that to our listeners that they can think about as they go about their day.
Well, this is a, you know, we're ending on my favorite point, which is this digital reality. You know, with crypto, Sam, president of Everpedia, used to call it digital real estate, especially for EOS. 'Cause EOS lets you use the tokens as a server. So his nickname for EOS was digital real estate. And part of this, so the reason why I became so passionate about Facebook, and also part of the reason I launched Everpedia, is the idea of creating the whole world digital.
Yeah.
And I still want to see it happen. Like, my dream is for everything to have an Everpedia page. Like, if it exists in real life, let's put it on the internet. And then the place to put it, so Facebook is one place. Like, everything can have a Facebook page, but that's not a way. Like, that's coming from, like, you make your own Facebook page. You don't do it for other people. But for Everpedia, we can just create everything digitally. So, like, for example, we need to make the Everpedia for this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite thing to do. Like, if I'm on your podcast, that means I'm going to make the Everpedia for it, and then we can share that too. That's also why it was fun. Like, normally with startups, people hate pitching investors. I loved pitching investors for Everpedia because the way I would pitch them was make their Everpedia. Kind of like how Sam pitched me. He made my page. So everyone who's listening to this, let's make your wiki. Hit me up. Let's at least make your Everpedia page. And then if you want to get into our community, you can get some IQ tokens. There's this dude who's the top Wikipedia editor of all time. He had a New York Times article about him.
Uh-huh.
He's never made any money. He still lives with his mom. He's pretty much completely broke. So I remember we tweeted when the New York Times article came out, we're like, if this guy, even if we hadn't hired him, if he just would have been working for the IQ token, he would be a millionaire. Crazy. So join us. We're still a very small community, but I think we're gonna definitely be bigger than than Wikipedia's community. But even with the IQ tokens, I think we can be bigger than Genius community too.
Yeah, very cool.
Come
Awesome.
to me, DM me. Instagram and Facebook are my favorite.
Yeah. What's the best way that people can get in contact with you?
Instagram and Facebook. I love Zuck. So.
What are your handles to find you?
Mahbod. Search Mahbod. But on Instagram, I'm Mahbodpedia.
Cool.
And then I have Telegram for the crypto peeps got me onto Telegram. Nice. Also, I like it because they have the coolest emoji. They got like
Adam good emoji game. Kurt Cobain. Yeah. Nice. Cool. Well, Mahbod, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. Like I said, I've always loved Genius. I used it. I still use it now. And yeah, for everybody listening, thank you so much for listening to another episode of the TF Podcast. Please make sure that you're following us at TF Blockchain on Twitter, and follow me at JG Product. Make sure that you're subscribed to YouTube and the podcast, and we'd appreciate if you give us some stars if you like this. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you all soon.